So if you asked me to describe IoT Connect in a couple words, it might sound something like a developer-friendly middleware platform. Well, that can start to sound probably pretty nebulous, and so let's take a look at it from an illustration perspective. So the whole goal of IoT Connect is to take things like a connected soap dispenser or an industrial gateway and extract meaningful business insights out of it. So for example, in that connected soap dispenser, maybe we want to look at usage monitoring. So how much soap is being used, or do we need to send someone out to go and refill the container? Similarly, with that industrial gateway, we might take a look at something in, say, a factory and say, hey, are any of the devices running particularly hot? Do we feel like there's a chance they might break down, and do we need to send someone out to do predictive maintenance on them to make sure that we don't go lying down at any point? But the challenge is that taking the things and actually getting meaningful insights out of them can be kind of a complicated journey. So you would have to do something like get a device connected to the cloud, and then you need to set up your cloud infrastructure and be able to capture all your data. And then on top of that, you have to go and build some sort of mobile or web experience to actually be able to view what that is and really start to figure out what is the data telling me. And so what IoT Connect does, going back to that middleware platform portion, is that we do all of that work that goes in between the things to the insights. So in this case, we provide a single pane of glass web experience, and it really allows you to do a lot of the pieces I just talked about. So in this case, it's things like manage devices or view and analyze your data. And again, all of that is done with security being on the forefront of everything that we do. And what this actually looks like from an underlying layer perspective is that we take things like AWS services, so things like IoT Core or RDS or S3, and we then end up aggregating them. We pull them all together and we'll manage them for you. And so you don't have to really worry about doing the plumbing aspect of user creation or device creation or being able to go in and do an over-the-air update. We provide all of that functionality for you. Really what you do is bring in the device and then you're able to get insights out of it. So that's the whole goal of what IoT Connect is supposed to do. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at IoT Connect. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the base dashboard and we can kind of walk through an experience so you can see what this feels like from a user's perspective. When we first come into IoT Connect, this is the dashboard that we're going to see. And so what we've tried to do is we've tried to aggregate all of the data that you might need to be able to do device management right from this front end dashboard. So what you'll see with this is we have things like device to cloud. We've given a tally there. We've noted how many commands have been hit. If there's been rules or notifications, we'll try to set the number of times that those have been used, and we'll showcase how to set a rule here in a second. And then additionally, if there's any information on number of devices or number of messages sent, that's all relevant to the plan that you've been set up with for IoT Connect. And we have a couple other things like OTA updates and user counters and such. These all become relevant as you've done more in the tool. But let's say that I'm working with this and I notice that this dashboard isn't exactly what I really want for the tool, and I want to be able to do something more particular to the project that I'm on. So I can go into create a dashboard and I can go ahead and name that. So I'm going to put that this is a new dashboard. We'll hit save. So this is going to create a dashboard that I then have the ability to dynamically add widgets to the tool, and it will be able to pull those into the canvas. So in this case, I'll go ahead and add a user counter. Let's go ahead and let's pull in a line chart here as well. And maybe I want to do something like a hyperlink. And you'll see that these widgets kind of come in blank, but you can then go and configure these. So in this case, maybe I want to check and do a time range, or I want to set a particular time range, or if I wanted to be able to map it to a particular device, I can. And once I've configured these to be more particular to what I want to do as a user, I then can go and click save, and that will now create that dashboard. And from here, I can then do some really interesting things with them. So I could then go and share that. And this creates a link that I can then share to another user. I can email it from here, or I can say copy that link and I can go ahead and paste that in. And you'll see that this will bring in a dashboard that doesn't require a login. It doesn't require anyone to have to log into IoT Connect. You can go ahead and just see that exact dashboard. Now, again, it's mostly blank because I need to go and configure more of these, but you have the ability to then share that relevant data out to somebody. Or if I want to, I can export this dashboard. So this, you'll see it went in and it downloaded that dashboard for me. So I have that new dashboard. And now I can then either import it back into the tool, or I can be able to share it with someone else within IoT Connect so they can be able to use that similar dashboard. And I know Stephen will talk a little bit more about some of the dashboards later, but just to give you a quick look at what more of a finished dashboard looks like, you'll see here now we have a combination of pictures and links and data, and I'll let him kind of show this version a little bit more. The next thing that I wanted to cover is entities. So entities is our way of being able to do segmentation within IoT Connect. The way that I have this set up here is for a multi-tenancy use case. So let's say that you create a solution that's going to be used by multiple customers. In this case, you can go in and configure it. You have customer A, customer B, and customer C. They are segmented, so they won't be able to see each other's devices and data, but you do have a way to then be able to take a single template that you've used for a given device and be able to share it across multiple different companies. You can use that same solution multiple different times. The other way that we typically tend to see entities used is more location-based. So let's say I wanted to go in and set up companies or factories in Seattle and Denver and New York. And I can then even further sub-segment on these entities. So if I wanted to have zone 1, 2, and 3, I could. And now I have an ability to be able to, if I need to push a particular update to just one region, or if I need to be able to monitor for just a specific location, I have that capability. And so entities, again, are the way that we will do segmentation from both a device and a user perspective. Additionally, we then can do roles and permission segmentation. So let's say that I need to go in and then set a particular user. In this case, let's go ahead and actually just create a new one. So we're going to make a new one who's going to be my OTA manager. And their job is really just going to be able to have access to set over-the-air updates. So they can go in and they will be able to read and manage that firmware. Additionally, you see I can have this check all if they just need all of those capabilities. And then from here, I can actually go and I'm going to give them access to support tickets as well. So if they have some trouble and they need to be able to get access, I want to make sure they have the full capabilities from a support perspective. But I don't need them necessarily to run reports. I don't need them to do maybe events. I just need them to be able to manage my over-the-air updates. So in this case, I've set that capability such that they have the correct permissions for that. And once I click save, I'll go ahead and have that user created. So you can see that we're now being able to segment on both an entity and a device perspective, as well as a user and a functionality perspective. So I always like to think of IoT Connect as highly customizable and incredibly scalable. I don't think I can get away with saying infinitely scalable, but truly as many devices as you then think you can take and be able to start to do more with them from a batch import. And I'll talk a bit more about that as we go. So with that, let's go ahead and dive into how a device connection works. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and look at a device template. So I'm just clicking through to the template screen. And let's go ahead and create a new template. So a template is the way that IoT Connect is going to be able to pull in all of the attributes that come through from a particular device. And in this case, think of this as kind of setting the MQTT topics. It's a way to be able to then say, what's the expected data that's going to come in from that device? So in this case, let's create a new template code. This is just a mnemonic or a placeholder. It's not necessarily the human readable version, it's the code version. So in this case, I'm going to call this DT1 for device template 1, and I'll go ahead and say that this is a device template. Authentication type, we have many different ways that you can be able to connect to the platform. In this circumstance, I'm going to go ahead and run a token as it's the simplest, though I think Stephen will showcase a little bit more of the devices that may have connected via a key. Obviously, security is a big aspect, and we are very aware of all the needs from a security perspective. So this demo that I'm giving, the token's just easiest to showcase how a device would connect. But I'd highly recommend if you have any questions about security, this is something that we would really love to engage you on. So relevant in today's world in terms of making sure that you're keeping that device data secure. So after I've selected a token, then I have my device message versions. I have 1.0 and 2.1. They're just slightly different versions. The 2.1 gives me maybe a little bit more flexibility in terms of the types of devices that I want to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Once I click save, it will then say, okay, I recognize there's a new template there. What properties would you like to be able to go in and look at? So I'm going to go in and set the attributes for this. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a temperature one. So I'm defining that my board or my product will have a temperature sensor. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a decimal value. You might be able to do just an integer if you didn't need the full value for it, but I'll set mine as a decimal. And then additionally, I'm going to go ahead and create a tamper check. So let's say that we were just talking about that security there. It's incredibly important. I'm going to go ahead and create that as a Boolean type. So this says, if I detect it, if true or false, then do some actions. We're going to talk about those smart rules. And so I'm going to set that tamper check up to say, has this occurred? Yes or no. So once I create those, the next thing that I can do is I can go in and set a command. And a command is essentially, if I needed to pass down some issuance to the board, what do I want to set that particular command as? And it's really helpful because once you've created a command associated with the template, then later on as you set these smart rules, you can be able to go in and use those commands in junction. And I will show that in just a second. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and put just a placeholder here. So I'm going to put a shutdown command. Something terrible's happened and I need to power off the board immediately. That's just placeholder code. Obviously, per board, it would be potentially a very different command structure, but I'm going to go ahead and just save that so that I can say I'm going to issue a shutdown command for that. So I've created my template now, and let's go ahead and take a look at devices. So I'm going to go ahead and create a sample device for this, and we'll talk a little bit about how that structure looks. So the first thing that you'll do is you'll pass a unique ID. This is essentially what's the identifier for that device. Again, this doesn't necessarily have to be human readable. So I'm just going to call this DV1, and it's going to be device 1 that I've done. And then I'm going to select that entity. I'm going to put this on the top level. So just at the top of the company here, but you could sub-segment it by customer if you needed to. And then finally, I'll go in, I'll select, so I just created this device template that we looked at here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So you'll see here, it's now going to create that device associated with it. Now, that is kind of a placeholder to say that there's going to be a device that we're expecting that follows this device template. If you want to be able to hook in actual hardware, you're going to have to do a bit more from a security key perspective and kind of communicating what's the board expecting. I'm going to let Steven talk about that one here in a bit. But for right now, what I'm going to showcase is just what does this look like from kind of a device dashboard. So I can go in from a simulator perspective. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. So we do have ability to do device simulation. And all we're going to do is just set the values to just kind of placeholder values. It's going to kind of generate them randomly. And you can kind of set boundaries on what you want that to look like. So I'm going to set it where my temperature goes between 95 and 105. That may not be necessarily a realistic example given board temperatures, but it's just a good way to kind of be able to see a range of values. So I'm going to go ahead and set those as my placeholder. Once I click OK, you're going to see that this device status is going to go to connected, as the simulator has said, yes, I have created a device that's going to do that. So I've set it successfully. That device is going to come online. And so there you go. You see it come online. And now placeholder values are going to begin to come through that simulator. So in this case, I believe I set it for every 10 seconds. It's going to give me a new value. So here in just a moment, you see now we have a temperature value that comes through, and that temperature check value comes through as true or false. It'll choose between one of those two. There's additional information that you can get here. So if you want to be able to go and look at the data from a telemetry perspective or a graph perspective or a table, we have all that functionality. And this screen that I'm showing you is really our home for everything that we're doing from a device and diagnostics perspective. So anything that you need to know around a particular device, it all lives on this screen. Any notifications that you've gotten, any commands that you've run, the historical data, it all lives right there. So it's a good way to be able to view devices. Additionally, I can go and execute a command. So if I needed to, I can go in here and I can say, I'm going to select that same device template and I'm going to pick the company. And then I'm going to go ahead and tell it to issue to all the devices this shutdown command. And when I hit execute, you'll see that it successfully ran. Now, that's a simulated device that I just ran that against, so it's not going to do anything. It's just receiving that and saying, I see and I acknowledge that that is there. But it's a way that you can be able to go and execute commands right from the platform to those devices. But what might be more helpful is setting a rule against a particular device or set of devices that is helpful in case it goes past a certain threshold to do a particular action. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and create that rule. Let's set an over temperature rule in this case. So I just created that device where I said it's going to have that temperature reading. I'm going to set an over temperature rule, and I'm going to then pick that template that I created earlier. So again, we're setting that to a device or a set of devices that are for that template. And then I can set a severity level to say how important is this. In this case, it's going to be very important, so I'm going to go ahead and set critical. And then I can choose to set a rule. We have the ability to set it on a single parameter, which is this, if I want to go in and set, say, tamper or temperature. But I also have the ability to do a smart. So this is that if this, then that. You can write kind of more of a rule to say, if the temperature and the humidity are over a certain thing, then do something else. But in this case, I'm going to stick to just that standard rule to apply. I'm going to go ahead and select the temperature because that's the thing that I'm paying attention to. And I'm going to say if it's greater than or equal to, let's call it 103, I want to do something. I'm okay with this being applied to the entire entity. So remember, think organization segmentation. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this to the whole company. And then I'll do some things once this rule occurs. So this is where I kind of set what's going to happen. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and issue that device command that I set earlier. So you'll see I'll issue that shutdown command. And I'm also going to email some users. I'm going to do a push notification. Let's do a UI alert notification as well. This is apparently a very urgent circumstance that we need to address. So in this case, I've really gone all the way through. You can also do a webhook, which will then, you'll hit a URL, but I'm just for sake of simplicity, I'm going to stick with these ones. And then also if I need to set it to a particular role, so say I need to alert that OTA manager that I created earlier, I can go through. That may not make sense given it's an over temperature warning, but you get the idea that you can pick what role is going to get those notifications. So once I go ahead and hit save, you'll see that that will then create that smart rule, and then that's now churning in the background. So if at some point in time my device goes over it, you may see it come in and flag and say, hey, the device has gone over that 103-degree temperature. All right, we do have the ability to do a firmware upgrade. I'm going to talk about this here a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and move on from this. Additionally, we have the batch import functionality. So this is the way to be able to go in and upload multiple devices to a particular template. We've provided, based on the type, a format so that you can be able to see. So in this case, I downloaded for that token, what's the expected file type. So that helps to be able to set that import for what we're looking for. And then additionally, we have a data export functionality. So this enables you to be able to pull out for either a template or an entity a set of data. And this is really nice. You know, by default, we're going to store that data inside of IOTCONNECT for 90 days or 15 gigabytes, whichever comes first. But if you wanted to be able to extract it and do further analysis on it, this is the way that you'd be able to go through and do that. And frequently what we'll see with their customers is they might be offloading this as they're getting it. So this may not be necessary, but it's a good way if you needed to pull down a subset of data from maybe the past week or two or month or whatever, you can be able to go and grab that. All right, just a couple more things I wanted to touch on. Inside of this, we do have the ability to set event subscriptions. This essentially says, how often do I want to be able to be notified when something occurs? So in this case, every time someone issues a command or every time a device is acquired, do I want to be notified of it? This really just goes into depend on how bulky and how much email you want to be able to get associated with all of these. But you do have the ability to go in and set for many different options the types of notifications that you want to get. So here's the resource tab. This is how you can be able to get additional information on our SDKs as well as some articles. So in this case, information around the different SDK versions that we have. So you'll see we have Java, Python, C, the different libraries that you would expect here. Additionally, this knowledge base resource is super helpful. It takes everything that I just talked about and more in a long form sense. So if I need to get information on how we do SDK documentation or API documentation, all of that lives here. And then you can be able to go in and get further information on, say, if you wanted to learn more about firmware, you can be able to go in and see how we potentially engage from a firmware perspective. Last but not least, I'm going to just talk quickly about this support ticket. So if you have any issues with IoT Connect, if you have any problems with being able to make connections, or if you need help with a bug, this is the place that you can be able to do it. We do have a SLA associated with the different packages to be enabled to be able to offer different ranges of support. And so this is our way that we have kind of 24-hour monitoring to say, if someone's running into an issue, can we be able to escalate it and get that to the correct support person? So with that, that's kind of the overview of the IoT platform. I am now going to pass it to Stephen to be able to do a little bit more particulars around device connection and some of what we're doing from a device template and uploading perspective. So Stephen, I'm going to hand it to you.
So now that we've learned a little bit about the IoT Connect platform, we've seen it in use, and we've learned a little bit about some of its features and functions, I wanted to show where you can actually get started using the platform today. If you head to avnet.com and you click on the Solutions menu followed by the IoT submenu, you'll find a link for development kits under IoT Connect. If we go ahead and click on that link, it's going to bring us to a very abbreviated list of hand-chosen development reference boards from some of our silicon partners. What's unique about the boards on this page is that not only have they been fully enabled to work with the IoT Connect platform, but they have quick start guides that walk through step by step to get the board connected and talking to the IoT Connect platform in literal minutes. If I select one of these, for example, the Renesas board here, we'll let this load. And some of the key features about all of the kits that I'm highlighting here today is that it can be used with our free tier account, and there's no credit card required to set up with that free tier account with the IoT Connect platform. Again, there's no software to install outside of a flashing utility, so you don't need to install an entire tool chain or IDE or development environment. And you'll be able to get this device moving data to the cloud very rapidly. You'll see we've got a few links here to buy the dev kit, to sign up for that free trial account I mentioned, and the link to the quick start guide, which is hosted on our GitHub site. Over on the right side, you'll be able to find a quick video that walks through in a high level the steps required to get the board talking to the IoT Connect platform very quickly. And below, you can see some screenshots from what you can expect when the dashboard is up and running and the device is setting telemetry here. So I'm going to go ahead and not walk through the quick start, but I want to at least show you where to locate that after clicking the quick start button here. So assuming you have your board purchased, you've set up your free trial already, you'll go ahead and click the quick start link. This is going to take you right directly into our samples repository here. And down at the bottom on the README, you'll see two links, one for the quick start and one for the developer guide. Again, just to reemphasize, the quick start is, again, no code compilation required. Again, flashing only. A developer guide is available too if you'd like to actually build it from source. I'm going to go ahead and just click on the quick start guide and show that we have a quick list of the prerequisites that are available. And there's only a short amount of steps. I believe there's only 10 or 11 in this one. Yep, 11 to get up and visualizing the data. Now, while I won't go through this today, I'd like to flip over to the IoT Connect dashboard and show a little bit more about some of the pieces of this quick start guide. Okay, here we are back in the IoT Connect platform. Now, when you choose to follow one of the quick start guides, a common task that'll have to be completed across all of them is to create a device template. Now, Keaton talked a little bit about device templates earlier, but I just wanted to re-emphasize that the device template is responsible for defining the type of device and the attributes such that the IoT Connect platform knows how to accurately leverage the data being sent. To create a device template, again, device menu, device, and then along the bottom, you'll see a variety of different options for tasks you can complete on devices. The first one being templates. You'll see that I have 5 templates pre-populated already into this environment that I'm working in today. Now, if we take a look at some of these, we'll take a quick look at the Renesas one, for example. I'll click on the edit icon on the right side. You'll see that it has a defined template code, a name that's human readable, an authentication type, and message version. If I look at the attributes, we can see that this one has had 4 different attributes assigned to this device. So the platform will be expecting these pieces of information from the device. I'll go back to the templates list here because I already have that in there. But if you're following, again, one of the quick start guides, we provide these templates for you, so you don't have to make it from scratch. I'll show you real quick how to do an import though. We'll hit create template, and then instead of filling this out, we can just hit the import button here. Now, I already have a variety of templates in here, but let's import a dummy one that matches the same information that's in the Renesys template. So I'll hit browse. I have my Renesys template right here, but I'm going to go to the desktop and select just the demo template. We'll hit OK and hit save. And you'll see I have a new template code, Renesys template TMP, and again, it's going to have the same 4 attributes as before. So this is the same process you'll go through when you're following the Quick Start Guide to import a device template. So once you have the device template imported associated with the Quick Start Guide you're going through, the next step is often going to be creating the actual device against the template. Creating a device is very straightforward. All we need to do is create a device by clicking the device icon in the left menu bar and device. And we'll see a list of devices that I have already pre-created here. Yours may be blank if you're using a new environment, but you'll click the create device icon in the top right, which will bring you to the create device page. Now I've got this information pre-populated here on a little clipboard, so let me go ahead and paste in the information. So again, we're going to be re-adding in that CloudKit board from Renesys. So let's go ahead and copy in the unique ID for it, and let's also put in a human readable name. And then let's make sure we select the right template. So the template again is the Renesys CKRX65N. So I'll go ahead and select that. You'll notice the information down below here, some of these fields change, and that will happen regardless of the quick start you follow, and that'll be appropriate for the type of security mechanism if available for the hardware development kit you're working with. For the entity, I could either choose to leave in the parent entity, or I could put it in one of the sub-entities in the customer. For the sake of this demo, I'm just going to leave it in the demo parent entity here. So the primary key, I've already computed this. This will, again, you'll compute this as part of the guide. I'm going to go ahead and paste these in here and hit save and view. Now what this is going to do is bring us to the device information page where we have a variety of different features down here on the left. You'll notice that currently the device says disconnected, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the reset button on the board to force the board to reconnect back to the platform. Okay, I've pressed the button to reset the board. So on the left side here, we'll be able to see the latest value. And as the board comes back online, we'll be able to see that there is a value associated with each of these attributes that were defined in the template. And perfect, here we are, back and connected. I haven't pressed the button, so that's still 0, and we have some values for the temperature and humidity. We can view this information in a variety of different ways. If I click the Live Data tab, as Keaton pointed out earlier, you can actually see the live raw MQTT data that's being sent from the device to the cloud. We can also visualize this in a graphical form, and you'll be able to see that we start to get some line charts appearing from the right side of the screen. Or if we want to see it more in a table form, this is more of a formatted data list here in the tabular format. Certain boards you can send different commands to. This board doesn't have any commands associated with it, but you could send actions to the board to tell it to turn on or off a device, or reset a sensor connected to it. There's a variety of different ways you can leverage the command, but this is basically a way to do two-way communication with any of the edge devices. Notifications. So we could set up some different notifications that would align with this board if certain conditions are met, whether it's the temperature or humidity. I think Keaton talked a little bit about this earlier, so I won't belabor this point. But again, we can set up notifications that can either go to individuals or to a wider group of folks in here. I'll head back to the Info tab here, and just to reiterate, this defines some information about the device as far as the template that's being used, the authentication type that's being there, and then if we head over to the right side, we have the display name, the readable, human readable name, and the entity associated with it. So we have the template, Now we have a device and we have data moving. So the next step would be to create a dashboard to help visualize this data and have it make a little more sense. As a quick recap, so far we've created a new device template, and more specifically, we imported a pre-created device template. Then we created a new device and we assigned it to that device template. In this example I just completed here was the Renesas CK-RX65N. We then rebooted the device and we verified that we could see live data. We looked at the live data in a variety of different ways. And the last part of the quick start kits, and again this applies to all of them, is to take that data and to display it using IOTCONNECT's dynamic dashboarding. Keaton talked a little bit about the dashboards earlier and showed how to create them. I have pre-created some dashboards for a variety of the development kits that I referenced earlier. Some of the quick start kits are here. And then also I want to really highlight how to import one, because again, all the quick start kits come with a pre-canned dashboard you can use as a boilerplate. So if I go ahead and hit create dashboard here, we'll see we have the option for creating a new dashboard, a new device dashboard, or an import dashboard function. So I'm going to go ahead and hit import dashboard, and I'll go to import a previously created dashboard. I'm in my dashboard templates here. I have been using Renesas as the example. Let me change it up. Let's use the microchip dashboard here. So I'll go ahead and hit open. So now I've selected a pre-canned layout for the dashboard, and now I need to tell the dashboard which specific device to pull data from. And in my case, I only have one device, but this could be, you could have multiple dashboards associated with different devices. So because I'm looking at a microchip device, I'm going to go ahead and find the template associated with my device. So I have this WFI32 IoT. Here's the device template that again I had previously imported. And under device, I only have one of them that I've added to this environment, so I'll just go ahead and hit the one that's there. For brevity, I will just call this demo. And I have the option to set it as my default, which I will not opt to. And then also I can choose whether I want this dashboard only visible to me or other folks within my environment. And I'm just going to leave it checked as is for now. So I'll hit save. And we are in the edit mode now of the dashboard. So this is where all of the widgets are laid out and all of the assets are displayed. I have not hit save yet. So at this point, I'm free to move stuff around. So I'll actually, maybe I'll move this. I want this board temperature attribute to be over here, and I want my button press counter to be over here. And that looks good to me. So then I'll go ahead and hit save. And while the data flow, so it's saving, committing everything here, and now we're going to connect that MQTT stream of data into the dashboard here. While that's ramping up, a word about this. So I'm using the WFI32 IoT microchip board here. It does have some headers on it, which I'm using to do some expansion and show some additional data from these click boards, as they're called. Temperature and humidity. This is an ultra low pressure and a variable air pressure click here as well. I can also display all that data in a grid form, and that's all going to be populated in this rolling line chart over here. And then down below, I'm able to send some commands to the board. So we haven't implemented a whole lot, but for the sake of the demo, we have enough where we can show. So I can change the LED color. So if I want to turn the blue LED on, I can execute a command. And again, this command is all defined in the device template. So we showed a little bit earlier about how to set up attributes. You'd set that up the exact same way, but it would be under the command section. And while I was blabbering away here, we can see that we do have data flowing in now from this device. These different clicks are providing data going through this microchip board, again, connecting to the cloud through my Wi-Fi, which I've predefined as part of the quick start guide. Now I've called this a demo dashboard. So now if I go back to the dashboard menu, I can see that my new dashboard is right here, and it will look unsurprisingly not very different than the microchip dashboard here because they're actually pointing to the same device. I actually just copied this dashboard. So again, once you have the dashboard created, you're able to do a couple extra features here. You're able to, again, organize it how you'd like. You can also share this. with others by creating a link that either never expires as perpetual, or you can have it automatically expire on a certain date. And the nice thing about this is when you provide this link, the recipient does not need to sign up for an account. They can just view it as a standard web page. And then lastly, we're able to export this dashboard right from here and save it as a JSON format. That makes it very easy to provide to others or to support quick start guides like I'm walking through today. So again, as a quick recap, the process will differ slightly depending on the quick start you follow, but in general, you'll walk through a process of essentially powering on the board, flashing firmware to it in one way or another. And again, it varies by board. Then you'll create a device template, and you'll tell the platform what to expect. You'll create a device, and then we'll provide you with this dashboard to get up and running very quickly here. So again, all the quick starts follow kind of the same cadence, and just want to reiterate that you don't necessarily need to use the quick start. We have, as Keaton mentioned, we have a full SDK and API available. We have developer guides for a variety of different boards. It runs on, and we have SDKs for both Python, Yocto Linux, and again, I would just encourage you to leverage some of the information we have down here. Let's find this here in the SDK version information, and if we want to go to the SDK resources and knowledge base to kind of further build upon what you've learned today.